If you are confused about the whole matching a bullet with a twist rate, this video is for you. I actually get that comment quite a bit, and most consumers are convinced that 1.7, without a doubt, is the best twist rate for an AR-15. Now, there is an actual place for a 1.7 twist rate, which does not affect you on the consumer market, except for a very small percentage of people. And we'll be talking about that. So, what exactly is twist rate? Twist rate is how far the bullet has to travel inside the barrel to make one revolution. So this particular rifle has a 1.7 twist rate. That means every 7 inches, the bullet travels around in a full circle once. You can measure this yourself by taking a cleaning rod with like a wire brush on it, and then you put a little flag on it, and you slowly pull it out, and once the flag makes a full revolution, measure the distance it traveled. If it traveled 9 inches, well, you have a 1.9 barrel. So, how do you line up the bullet you want to shoot with the twist rate that will be best for you? Now, most people are convinced that it has to do with the weight of the bullet, and that's actually not true. They just usually throw that around there because typically as the bullet gets heavier, it gets longer. What you're actually going to want to do is measure your bullet from front to back. The longer the bullet is, the faster it needs to spin. Now, weight plays a role in that, but not until you're shooting at an excessively long range. Basically, like, if your bullet's heavier, it will be able to maintain its stability just kind of like a heavy top versus a light top. The light one, it's still traveling faster than the heavy one, but yet the light one will tip over and the heavy one will keep going just because it's heavier. That doesn't really matter for an AR-15 because the range at what you'd be shooting these at, where the weight would be able to continue to make it spin to where it would lose stabilization, is past the effective range of an AR-15. Yes, these can shoot a lot farther than when they drop below 2,200 feet per second, but the only way I'd recommend shooting a target past where your bullet drops below 2,200 feet per second is if it's paper. Because once your bullet drops below 2,200 feet per second, it reacts with the body differently. You don't get that permanent wound cavity. Now you're just getting like a pistol style wound. Yeah, it's still a rifle bullet and they're typically heavier than, well, I shouldn't say that, because pistol calibers are heavier and wider. But basically there's 2 types of bullets. You got pistol calibers and then you got rifle bullets, or rifle calibers. And what separates the two is about 2,200 feet per second. Everything flying faster than 2,200 feet per second exceeds the limitations of the human body, giving you a permanent wound cavity, so when it swells up like you see in the ballistic gel and collapses back down, you get tearing and ripping, giving you a larger wound cavity. With a pistol round, you'll see it swell up like that and it'll close back down and it'll return to just the path that the bullet took. So, shooting an AR-15 at a range where it's flying below 2,200 feet per second is just a bad idea. At that point, you should be switching to something heavier, like a 308, etc., etc., etc. And that's where I draw the line. I'm like, okay, this is the range I'm going to be shooting at. Will my bullet still be flying faster than 2,200 feet per second at that range? If not, now I'm going to go to something heavier. So anyway, you measure the length of the bullet. Now, Berger actually has a really good calculator. Unfortunately, I cannot run a link to this calculator in the description of my video because they sell ammunition. That would be a flag by YouTube, and this video would be demonetized or I'd get a channel strike. So I'm just going to do a little demonstration on my laptop and walk you through how it works. So let's play with this for a second. We're going to pretend that we're using my Bushmaster. I'm assuming, I don't know, we'll say 2,900 feet per second. It's got a 1.9 barrel twist. Put a 9 in there. Average temperature, elevation. Now let's select a bullet. We'll try 80 grain, because I believe that's what that Hornady round is I can use. Calculate. Then you go down here, and it's got a little arrow. And yeah, this was the most accurate round I shot out of my rifle. Alright, well, we'll go to 90 grain, and then we're going to switch this to a 1.7 twist. Like, you're still within factory. Well, I shouldn't say within factory. You're slightly below what the factory typically recommends. And that'll never fit in your magazine. The biggest you're going to fit in your magazine without modifying the bullet is about a 177. Or a 77 grain, I mean. Sorry about that. Way over here. Way out of factory recommendations for bullet barrel twist stabilization. So, why would you want a 17? That makes no sense. Now that same 77 grain bullet, let's do a 19. Not too bad. That's right in there. Well, what about a 18? Because that's typically what a lot of people say that's best because you can stabilize the wide range of the ammunition. Right in, factory recommendations. And this is why most of the internet likes the 18 because it's right in there so they know they're good. They're not overly stabilized like way over here somewhere. And they're not in the gray zone. Now, in my personal experience, I mean, your testing may vary, or other people may have different opinions, but my personal experience, the closer I can get to 1, the more accurate my rifle is. I've seen this on multiple different calibers, 308, 6.8, 223, but typically the closer I can get to 1, the more accurate it is. Now, there's an exception with, like, my girl's rifle. For some reason, the closer I get to 1, the worse it gets. So if I run a lighter bullet with her particular rifle, it's more accurate than if I run a heavier bullet. Now, like my Bushmaster, the heavier bullet, and the closer I can bring that formula down to 1, my rifle gets more and more accurate. So what you want to do is you want to figure out the longest bullet you can put in your rifle without going below 1. Once it goes below 1, you're going to destabilize. So you start at that and you see how accurate it is. And you play with different bullet weights and you figure out what exact bullet I can shoot in this rifle and still stay above 1 and get the most possible accuracy. Which is why I don't like 17 rifling on AR-15s. I typed in the information for a 55 grain bullet. I didn't know the BC, so I just left it. Point caliber 224, 55. This is the length of the bullet. We're going to use a 112 twist rate. Right in the gray zone. Minimum recommended though is 10.8. Let's pop in a 17 just as an experiment. .65. It's not even on the chart anymore. Like, it would be somewhere way over here. So yeah, I totally do not recommend running a 17 with 55 grain ammo if that's what you tend to shoot. Yeah, there's exceptions. You may find something accurate, but it's just not my recommendation. To get close to 1 with a 17 rifling, you will never fit it in this magazine. With a 19 rifling, that's right at the edge of what I can fit in this magazine. I can fit, what is it, in 82... It's either a 79 or an 82 grain Hornady. I'll post it right here what it is. And I have to take a fingernail clipper and clip off the little ballistic tip to make it fit. And I can still stabilize that out to 300 yards. So that's not a problem. At about, what is it, 400 yards, my bullet would be flying below 2,200 feet per second anyway, so that's the maximum range I'd want to shoot with that particular bullet. At that point, then I'd be going to a 308. So, why do they sell 17 rifling on AR-15s? And more importantly, why does the military use 17 rifling? There's actually a really good reason for that. It also plays into the reason why everyone says you shouldn't shoot, 5.56 ammo out of a 223 barrel. So, the military uses this tracer round. It's 64 grains in weight, but it's as long as a Hornady 80 grain. So you need, because it's long and light, a really fast rifling to be able to stabilize that. Because that would most likely destabilize below, the 2,200 feet mark. because it's so light. It doesn't have the gyroscopic capabilities to keep stabilized with something that long, so you really got to put a whip on it. And that's actually why why I wouldn't shoot certain types of ammo out of a 223 barrel. As you'll notice, almost all the chambers are the same. Where's the difference? Well, the difference is in your free bore. Now, you'll also notice that the match barrel has even a longer free bore than the 5.56. I believe that's because in that match barrel, you're going to be shooting like 90 grain, 100 grain 223 ammunition, so you need that free bore so you don't get a huge pressure spike. Now, the difference between 5.56 and 62 grain ammo is basically mute. Now, I'm not telling you should start shooting a 5.56 ammo out of your 223 bore, because there's always going to be exceptions. But like, the external dynamics or external measurements of the case are exactly the same. And yes, I pulled out sensitive measuring tools just to make sure of this way I'm not giving you bad information. And I even found some sources on the internet. There's no difference at all in the case. The bullet diameter, zero difference. Now, there will be different pressure readings on both of them because 5.56 and 223 take their pressure reading from two different spots. But now, if you take those bullets and shoot them out of the same barrels, typically, depending on what bullet grain you use, you will not see a pressure difference. Side note, I did find a source on the internet where they had shot 62 penetrators out of a 5.56 chambering and a 223 only chambering. There was a slight difference in pressure, but they only had a sample size of 1. So would you see that slight difference over a wide area? I don't know. Not to mention it was a small difference, but the cartridge still remained within its maximum pressure limitations. So the cartridge was not pushed into a dangerous condition even though it was at a slightly higher pressure. Unless you are using a really tight or like small free bore 223 barrel and you shoot something really long out of it, like let's say you got a 223 barrel that was designed for, varmint ammunition, like 35 grain, 40 grain, something like that, so there's like no free bore. Now you plug in a 5.56, yes, you will see a higher pressure curve over a 5.56 barrel. Or if you were to take the tracer ammunition and try to run it in a 223 barrel, that's when you're probably actually going to have your problems, because that is a really, really long bullet. And if you were to shoot that out of a really, really tight 223 chamber, there would be your problems. So that's why the military runs it. It's the only way to stabilize their tracer ammunition. For the rest of the ammunition, it's totally garbage. A 1.7 twist on a 5.56 bullet makes absolutely no sense. You're spinning it so fast, you may even have bullet jacket deformation, depending on, the length of your barrel, because the longer the bullet is, or the barrel is, the higher velocity you're going to get. It would probably be okay with this rifle because this is a shorter barrel. It actually ends right here. Throw on a 20-inch barrel, you're increasing the speed of the bullet. So that increases the RPM, which increases the centrifugal force. And if you start deforming your bullets, they'll fly wherever, just... If you hit the target, it could be of just plain good luck. They may even explode and just be like a little shotgun pattern on your target. Now, why do they have 1.7 barrels in the civilian market? For example, this particular rifle, this is a modern reproduction of the XM117E2, was originally made with a 112 barrel, which makes sense because that's the actual twist rate that's supposed to be on this rifle. That's what they came with. When you're doing a replica, you want to be as close as possible, so this should have a 112 barrel on it, and it was originally made with a 112 barrel. And 112 is ideal for 55 grain ammunition. You can get as close to 1 with a 112 without going below it and have your bullet destabilized, so you will typically see more accuracy. I mean, this still also comes down to the manufacturer of the barrel. If you got a sloppy manufacturer, it doesn't matter what twist rate he burns into there, you're going to get crappy accuracy. If you have a really quality manufacturer, it doesn't really matter what twist rate he burns in there, you're going to have relatively good accuracy, until you hit your limits. But anyway, so they originally made this with a 112, and my God, they practically got burnt at the stake on the internet. You have no idea how many posts I've seen complaining that they were just stupid This needs to have a 1.7 because 1.7 is the best twist rate ever made for an AR-15, and that's what an AR-15 should have. And that's why you see 1.7 twist rates on the civilian market, because that's what the consumer wants. And as a manufacturer, what do? You give the consumer what they want. Whether or not a customer's right, the customer is always right, because they're the one paying for it. If that's what they want, that's what you give them. Now, if you are picking your AR-15 out, you have a couple of different choices. 1.9, 1.8, 1.7. 1.9 is what I strongly recommend. It's the most popular twist rate. Maybe not on the internet. Most people go to 1.8, but I'm saying like the most sold twist rate. That's what most manufacturers make it in, and that will give you your range of ammunition. Now, if you go with a 5.56 chambering, because this is my theory why my Bushmaster doesn't shoot 55 grain well, that's what a couple of people had also said in the comments, and I totally agree with them. Because of your long free bore and how short a 55 grain 5.56 bullet is, you lose your accuracy because it's not hitting rifling before it exits the case, so it can orient itself in several different ways, giving you a wide group. 62 seems to be perfect in that particular chambering. Now, that could be just that particular rifle. Every person cutting a chambering is going to do it slightly different. There's always going to be variations. So you could have a 5.56 chambering and shoot 55 grain just fine out of a 1.9. Hell, you could shoot it just fine out of a 1.7. Everybody's going to cut their barrel a little bit different. That's why it's important to experiment with several different types of ammunition, see what works good, and goes from there. Now you got your 1.8. That would be the absolute fastest twist rate I'd ever run. This particular barrel is cut at a 1.8 twist. You will never fit a bullet in here that can get close to 1. It's just not going to happen. It's too long of a bullet. 1.9, you can barely do it. And like I said, my personal experience, aside from my girlfriend's rifle, which seems to be the exception, not the rule, the closer I can get to 1, the more accurate the rifle is. I have theories on that. I believe it has something to do with the faster it spins, because your bullet isn't going to fly straight. It is going to have a little bit of, what would you even call it? Variation. Slop in its spin, so it kind of like wobbles. My theory is because of that wobble, the faster you spin it, the more it goes around. Because when your bullet's flying at the target, say this is the crosshairs. When your bullet first leaves the rifle, it's directly at the crosshairs. As it's flying towards the target, it does something like this. Keeps passing through the crosshairs and goes out, and that's where you get your MOA. That's how come at the same exact distance, shooting the same exact rifle, with the same exact ammunition, at the same exact target, you will get variation. Even if you would totally clamp that rifle down, unless you have some super high-end bench rest rifle with a barrel that's like this thick, your holes are not going to land on top of each other, especially as you shoot at a longer range. That's also why I think that my 1.9 barrel doesn't shoot 55 for crap, because, well, it's in the free bore, so the bullets are just orienting themselves differently, and it's making the spiral different. But anyway, so that's where you'll get your MOA. And like I said, my theory is the faster you spin it, the faster it goes around like this, the less likely it is to land in the same spot twice, giving you a wider MOA. That's just a theory. I do not have the resources to test that. You can do your own research on that one. If you'd like to check out any of my other videos, click on the boxes up here. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.